Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call us right now for more help at 866-945-8070. Hit the record button here and begin the process of going live on Facebook. So just bear with me. Oh, they're doing it differently this time. Oh, so it's letting me go live directly in the group. Usually I have to pick a page and then share that. Ooh, but I wanted it to go live on Nerd Enterprise's page. That's where it always goes. I'll have to share it back the other way. Huh.
So it goes on between Wall and Main and Nerd Enterprises, or just picks one?
Usually I go live actually on the Nerd Enterprises Facebook page, and then I paste the link into the Between Wall and Main group.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, this is interesting. So they've made some changes. I'm getting a message here that says, don't put third-party video ads in your live video. For example, don't include bumpers, pre-roll, mid-roll, or post-roll. Ensure any pre-recorded content is clearly distinguishable from live content. Okay. You can now reuse the same stream key over multiple live broadcasts. Okay, good to know. Okay, so practice ignition with Reid. Great. I was all ready to make it like read in a sentence. I was prepared this time, and now it's not going to work the way I did it. I have to turn it back around. So hold on. Almost there.
So Reid, is that someone's standing desk behind you?
Yeah, that's our very high-tech standing desk. It's a shelf. We, you know, as a software company, we like to keep things lean, and that includes our office space. You know, no need to spend a fortune on those robotic desks when you can put a shelf in.
Looks good.
Actually, the space we're in here, so our Canadian office, there was another local software company that was in this office before, and the one next door, and so they've moved out to a separate building. So I think actually they were the one that created the lean stand-up desk. It was already there when we moved in. So.
Oh, even better.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm actually the only one in the office today because we got a couple folks working remote, and one of my coworkers is off on a paddleboard seminar. There's, I guess, a gentleman that's in town from Hawaii doing like the stand-up paddleboarding type stuff. So I guess that's the
seminars for that.
And seminars not the right word. Maybe like sessions, because they race, like it gets quite competitive. Hey, like there's special boards for like racing, and they paddle all over the place. So I didn't realize it's quite a thing now.
No idea. That's interesting.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so I got an error message. So we're going to try it on the page instead, like we normally do. Nerd Enterprises Inc. I'm going to post it as Seth David on Nerd Enterprises Inc.
Makes it very difficult.
Well, it's just they're giving you more options. Normally you didn't have an option to stream directly in a group. You had to go to a page and then link from the link from the live feed on the page. You could drop into a group and it would render there beautifully. So it looks like they're making it more open. Like now there's a screen here that's showing me the API keys, so I could take that key and put it anywhere, which is nice. But now it wants a title. It also used to just go live. Now it's at least give me an option to set up a title and put a message in there before I actually hit the go live button. So in many respects, it's actually an improvement, I think.
So Sarah Laidlaw just sent me a message, and I'm not sure if it's to me or you, Seth. Are Zoom meetings always the same? How do you know how to get in?
I don't know how to help her because I don't know how I can make it any clearer, like where to go. I post them in the group.
Well, it was difficult for me to get in today. I had to go to a different browser. Chrome has been, since they've done that update, there's a lot of things that I don't seem to be able to do, even when I allow pop-ups. So I'm not sure what's happening.
I don't know.
Because Sarah knows how to get into every meeting. She's been here 100 times.
So just if you can respond to her, tell her to just go to my website, go to the Zoom-ins, and there's always that one page that says upcoming Zoom-ins. It's also a pinned post in the Between Wall and Main group.
On Facebook. Yeah, I do that.
Yeah, I just posted it this morning, so it's you know, and I pinned it. So I believe I pinned it, but either way, you should see a nice big tile that says Practice Ignition on it, which you can of course use. And now I'm going to post the link to the video feed in the group, showing that we're live.
Oh, Greg must be in the attendee. Oh.
Yeah, he's chatting with us.
I'll come and let him in just a second. Got to get some of this housekeeping stuff done. We got to get the technology working.
Once again, here we are, 4 years later, still playing with technology.
Yeah, it's a Friday. You know, these things are normal. The technology's tired. It's worked all week.
The joke is, you know, years ago when I started this, it was when Google Hangouts was just released, and we had so many problems with the Google Hangouts technology. And now it seems
many of our shows did not start for 15, 20 minutes because of technology. 15,
20 minutes into the show. You know, and this is funny. So now I went to my page and I can't actually find this live feed. So they've obviously made some changes and we're obviously about to see some growing pains. But nonetheless, we are live and the live feed is rendering right in the Between Wall and Main Strategy Forum. Presumably, it's also rendering right on the Nerd Enterprises Incorporated Facebook page. Maybe I need to do something to actually share it. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll get it. Okay, now I'm in the live video feed. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It's May 4th, 2018. The phones are ringing. Business is humming. Everybody's. Oops. Now I've got an audio replay. Anyway, life is good. Let me let some more people in to the panel. We have Dennis. We have Greg. And I want to share a quick story with you all this morning. But in order to do so, I need to bring up something on my screen. So this morning, I woke up and Ralphie was sleeping next to me. But he often, you know, climbs into bed and sleeps with me. But the way he was sleeping with me this morning was adorable. So I have to show you a picture. But everything's kind of going really slow here.
So this isn't going to be something weird and kinky, is it, Seth?
Of course not. No, come on. You know me better than that.
I do, but I had to say, I mean, you left yourself open for that.
I totally did, and I thought about it. I was like, somebody thinks I'm about to like show them a picture of me in bed. No, when I climbed out of bed and he didn't move from his position, so I was able to take this picture of him.
Oh, that is so sweet.
But you could see where the pillow is. He was curled up like right in my chest. It was the cutest little thing. I just love this little guy. He's one of my favorite creatures on this planet. So I had to post that. Morning, Ralphie. And he didn't want to wake up. He's getting a little older, and he's kind of like a teenager who doesn't want to get out of bed in the morning. So I had to pick him up and carry him out of bed just to get him to go for a walk this morning. It was kind of funny. Anyway, on to more important, more exciting, more interesting things. We're going to let a couple more people into the panel here. I guess maybe it was difficult to get in today. And Greg comments in the chat, if you register, you get an email, which is true, especially if you register in advance. You get an email a week before, a day before, and an hour before. So there's that. But Gina, you said you were actually having browser difficulties getting in this morning?
I did. I had to not use Chrome and use Firefox to be able to, you know, actually make the link work.
Wow.
But my Chrome seems to be, I don't know, very particular this week. This isn't the only instance where I've clicked links and it just sits there and ignores me.
And do you clear your cache regularly?
Not particularly, only for the QBO site that I use.
Maybe it's time to clear your cache. That might fix it.
You could be right. You could be right. I was blaming it all on the update that they did.
Could be that too. Although, you know, it's interesting. I've been working on a project in QuickBooks Online the past week where I'm having to reconcile a clearing account for this. It's an e-commerce company, and, you know, we've got the sales clearing through the sales channel clearing. And so I'm reconciling that to make sure I'm matching up all the payments against the sales so that the sales clearing zeroes out. So I'm actually reconciling it pretty much daily, right? And I've been noticing as I'm clicking off the check marks to reconcile, every time I click a check mark, the screen refreshes. So it's been a painstakingly slow process to reconcile because there's a lot of transactions. Then all of a sudden yesterday, it was working fine again, where I could just click all the way down. And I whipped through the second half of the year's transactions in about half the time it took to do the first half. So I'm sure they're making updates. They're always making updates. I don't know if it's still the case, but I think I remember years ago that they said that they roll out updates on a 6-week cycle. So every 6 weeks they have updates they roll out. So who knows, maybe this is the 6th week or something like that. So anybody else experiencing like slowness with QuickBooks Online? No? Yes? Maybe? I'm all alone.
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I'm experiencing weird things like my clients don't always show up.
That client thing is
The client list, yeah.
I have my own company that doesn't show up. I have to go back to my practice to find my own company because my company is not in the designated your company because I've had it since before they had that. So my company is really just another client company. And there's all kinds of weirdness going on with that. They told me to fix it completely. What you have to do is you have to take your own company out of wholesale billing, right? Just move it completely out as if it was a client company where the client was paying for it, and then put it back in, and that would probably solve some of the problems that I'm having. I don't know, maybe that'll solve your problems too. Anyway, hopefully what's not running slow this week is Practice Ignition. Good morning.
Yeah, hopefully, hey.
Welcome. It's been a long time since I've had somebody. I used to talk to Max all the time. Does Max still work for you? Is it Max Payne?
Yeah, so Max actually moved on before I started here, and he now is running a cookie business with I think a friend of his that they started together. So they manufacture like cookie dough that they sell in frozen packages, which you can then quickly just put onto a pan and bake up, and they're like gourmet cookies, pre-prepared, frozen.
That's very different. I mean, because there's not like an app that's making the cookies, right?
No, it's very not. Well, I mean, there's some technology, you know, you have to cook things, you have to like mix things and package things and freeze things, but food processing technology. Yeah.
Good for him. Was he like a guy who always liked cookies or something? I mean,
you know, I'm not too sure. I've never met him myself. I just know from going through old slide decks and the history, looking in the history books, the archives of Practice Ignition, some of the faces that have been around.
Well, I think it's appropriate to bring on another guest this morning.
Nice.
I have Cookie Monster. I always have
Cookie
Monster at close reach. So tell me what's going on with Practice Ignition. It's been a while since we've had you guys here on our show, so I'm sure a lot has changed. So give us an update. What's going on? First of all, for those who don't know, give us a little background. What is Practice Ignition? What do you do? Who do you do it for?
Yeah, you know what I did? I put together just like a 5-slide quick presentation here. So I'm just going to share my screen.
Wow, he actually prepared.
Oh yeah, I'm very much one of those people that like to be super prepared for everything. So
Perfect.
I think a side effect of being a Boy Scout when I was younger, maybe. So this is my very brief update on what's going on with Practice Ignition. So for those that don't know, Practice Ignition is a web app that primarily right now we work with accountants and bookkeepers to engage their clients. But it all started back in 2011. So a couple of blokes in Australia saw a problem and they thought, you know, how do we fix this? How do we fix the relationship between an accountant or bookkeeper and their clients? And so the way they started is they came across this problem. So I don't know if anyone here when they create contracts or proposals or engagements, they open up a Word document, I've got a bunch of highlighted text, and they find and replace and copy and do all that. But it's gross. It sucks. I've done that. I've done that in previous jobs where I've had to create, contracts, and you're doing it over and over again, and it's time consuming, it's painful, it's tedious. So in 2012, we had the kind of alpha release of the first iteration of Practice Ignition, which was, a web-based way to do this, bring this process into the digital age. And then we hopped in our DeLorean, and boom, we're 2018. So what have we got going on now? So it started with just one core function. How do I engage my clients online, digitally? So that started with proposals. We've since added payments. We've got different recurring billing options, some client management features, of course, engagement letters. There's a business dashboard now as well, which gives you insights into your practice or business. And we've got integrations, plenty of integrations now that we connect through Zapier as well. So we've got some direct integrations, and then other integrations right through Zapier. So the real thing that we're kind of pushing for, like our key goal, is to streamline and automate everything that's happening in your business. So we know that technology, most of the time anyway, technology is really good at doing some things, and humans are good at doing other things. And so we believe that anything that technology can do well, we should let technology do and automate that and take that off of our plate. So the company's grown quite a bit since we last spoke as well, Seth. So there's folks literally all over the world now. Head office is still down in Sydney, Australia. I'm in Kelowna, BC here, and then we've got a couple of folks in Seattle. We've got a team in London in the UK, team in Manila as well in the Philippines there, and one gentleman in New Zealand. So we're kind of spread out all over the place. At any given time of the day, there'll be someone working. And we've also been launching a lot of new features and functionality. So we've got quite a cadence going right now where we have regular updates and releases to the app. And this is just an example of some of the things that are coming out soon and later this year and early next year. So we've got a full kind of product roadmap that's showcasing all those exciting things coming. That's kind of where we're at right now. Any questions about that? Or?
I have a question, and this is just because I noticed things. What are you using for the presentation? That did not look like PowerPoint.
Oh, no, that's just Google Slides. So we use the G Suite for all of our stuff. Yeah, so just
I love that.
Google Slides, yeah. Because our company's so dispersed,
cloudy.
We need to do we need to do everything on the clouds. We're 100% interwebs.
Yep. No, I love that. I love that. It's another one of those things that I think people don't realize you can do, and you can do it just as well. And less of a chance of losing something in translation by having to email it or share it in a sharing application like Dropbox back and forth. So anyway, yeah, I think we'd love to see like a demo of the process, because, as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking very honestly that I should probably be making more use of this. As the chief nerd at Nerd Enterprises, my job should be to be spending most of my days probably preparing proposals for clients, right? And because I'll be honest, I'm a little manual with mine. A lot of times my whole interaction, though, is done on the web where, there's not even a proposal. It's more like, well, there's going to come a point in time where an agreement has to be sent out. And it is. But again, it's more manual. It's just a document I send out for them to. I do have an electronic signing process, but it's not nearly as nicely integrated as practice. Anyway, moral of the story is I need to be using this more. So I'd love to see a demo.
Awesome. Let's do it. I'm just going to share another screen here.
And
cool.
Before you start, just to put this in your mind, because the question is already showing up there in the chat, and I sort of knew the question would come up, as these kinds of questions often do. We want to compare you to some of the other products that we're familiar with. So you can answer it now, or maybe you'll answer it as you go, whatever makes more sense. But the question has already come up as to how Practice Ignition compares with 17 Hats.
Good question. Let me go through the demo and kind of show you the key functionality. I think the answer will probably come out of that. But if there's any specific questions about kind of functionality or what we do or don't do, we can look at that. If that's right. So Yeah, so this is my demo account. This is kind of the main interface that you'll land on. So you'll see on the left-hand side, we've got a few different menu options. What I really want to do is just show you the proposal creation process, so we can come back and look at this more later. But this is the business dashboard that you land on. So what it means is if you're running your proposals and you're billing through Practice Ignition, we capture that data and can present it in real time so that you get real-time insights into your business. So you know exactly how much cash is coming in, you know what kind of revenue forecasting you have, and all that good stuff. But really the core and where it started is we want to engage our clients and we want to formalize that relationship with a proposal or contract. So what I can do is just go click the Add New button, click on a proposal, and there's 3 steps in the proposal creation process. The first thing is choosing your client. To kind of really simplify it, you choose your client, you add the services or the things that you're selling or providing to them, and then the last thing is you choose an engagement letter template, which has all your legal terms and conditions and anything else you need, and then you send it off. So first we can do is name this proposal, and we'll just call this the basic packet for 2018. And let's use, I think we've got a client in here called Friday Hot Dog Stand, a great client of ours. We'll use them. I can choose my start and end dates. So when is this relationship starting, or when am I starting to provide the services? And then the last thing here is I can choose a recurring invoice day. So one of the core pieces of Practice Ignition is how can you move to a fixed fee or a monthly recurring business model. So traditionally, accountants and bookkeepers and other professional service firms as well have offered an hourly rate. You know, here's my rate. We do all the work. We send a bill. Maybe we get paid 30 days later, maybe 60 days later, maybe 90 days later. And one of the goals that we're trying to achieve with the software is say, hey, you know what? Maybe instead of getting paid months after, we can set up a recurring ongoing fee so that you can deliver value throughout the year, throughout the month to the client, and you can get paid as well on time, make that easy. So we'll just leave that as the first day of the month for now. Next thing is services. So what this service library is something that we can customize and populate in your account, and then I'll just pick the services I want. So I'm just going to say that we're going to do some basic bookkeeping, and let's add in payroll.
And Reid, I assume that's mapped to my items in QuickBooks Online, my products and services there?
Yeah, I'll show you. So in this demo account, I've got it connected to Xero. It works the same for QuickBooks Online, but yeah, we can basically connect the services and service library to either one of your ledger accounts, and I'll show you in how it looks in Xero anyway, how the invoice comes through. Because what's going to happen is the invoice will automatically be raised in your ledger system based on the items in your proposal. So we'll look at that in just a second here. So payroll management, I don't want to make that free. Let's add a recurring fee for that. Let's say 150. And then let's just put on some consulting as well, because everyone needs help, extra help. And this will maybe bill on completion, but I want to take a deposit because I want to make sure I get paid a little bit at least up front. So we'll save that. So I've added my services, click over my terms. So this is where I can choose an engagement letter template. So you may have, depending on where you are in the world, some of our clients may have, upwards of 5 or 10 different engagement letter templates. Others may just have one. I'm going to use this UK example. It just has some of the placeholders that I like to see. And I actually, myself, I primarily work with our UK and South African clients, but whether you're in the US, Canada, Australia, anywhere you are in the world, you can create a custom template and use that. Messaging, you can actually add a personal message as well to the top of your proposal. So we'll just say, hi, Reid. And we also have payments fully integrated as well now. So you can accept credit cards and ACH payments right through Practice Ignition. And you'll see in a minute what that looks like. When the client is viewing their proposal, right in the proposal itself, they can go and add their payment details. So you don't have to go and track that down later. One of the challenges that professional service firms have always had is getting paid and getting paid on time. So we bake that whole process right into the proposal sign off. So they can do that. I'm gonna make it optional. I'm not gonna make it required. And then for apps, again, in this case, we're connected to Xero, but works the same if you're connected to QBO, where you can decide for this particular proposal, do I want to automatically send the data into my ledger system, or do I want to turn that off? So we'll leave that turned on for now. I'm going to go ahead and create my proposal. So this will save it in a draft state. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send this to clients so you can see what this looks like when they get it. So you've created the proposal, it emails out to your client now. They'll get a nice email, which again, you can customize, and they'll click a link to open this page up, and this landing page gives you an example of what they're gonna see. So instead of now having to go through a PDF or print something off and sign it, they can scroll through on their phone, on their tablet, on their desktop browser here, and have a look at what am I paying for? So the summary of your services. We actually group them based on the billing type. So you'll see that even though we're offering some monthly recurring services, the monthly recurring services started on May 1st. It's already now May 4th. So for the first month fee, we're going to just charge that right up front. That's why there's on acceptance fees. And then we have 11 more billing periods throughout the year. And we've got one fee that's due on completion. They can add in their payment details now. So they can add in their banking information or put down a credit card, which will automatically go into Stripe, which we use to actually do the payment processing. And then the third section is the engagement letter itself. So this is the part where some people read it. I suspect some clients don't, right? This is the kind of legal terms that you add onto your agreement. And what it's going to do is it's going to automatically pull in data from different parts of the application. So it pulls in the proposal summary, just like you see up above. So you've got that. It talks about some other legal terms. We've got a little sign-off section, so it'll capture their signature and put it in there. You can add some more terms to the services themselves, and of course, all of our standard terms of business. They can also view it as a PDF. Some people like to view or save a PDF, so that's an option. And the client would then just click that they accept, type in their name, and that's it. So you've now gone from a process where, again, you're cutting and pasting or manually updating some type of document, sending it out. Maybe they print it and sign it. Maybe they sign it in another digital format, and then they have to get it back to you. So a few things have happened now. We've taken this client, if they didn't already exist in our QBO or Xero account, we've added the client to our ledger system. Our invoice is being created and will be automatically sent to the client if we enable that option. And the billing will also trigger as well. So we'll start collecting that on acceptance fee is going to start processing, and we'll collect that and disperse it automatically to your dispersal account, and then reconcile that as well for you. So it's one of the big differences that you'll see, to get back to that question about the difference between 17 hats, and I'm not super familiar myself with all of the features and functionality of 17 hats, but in general, kind of one of the key differences between Practice Ignition and some of our competitors or some of the other similar software systems is how we can automate that whole process from bringing on the new client to creating the services and then billing and invoicing them and collecting payment automatically on a monthly cadence. Right. So it's that kind of whole process that really is the core driver. The other thing, of course, is now that we're connected to Zapier, and I've got some stuff I can show you there as well, we can really automate that whole relationship process from the sales process into Practice Ignition, and then post-sale process, kind of maintaining that customer relationship.
So we have some questions.
Quick demo, but yeah, fire away.
All right. So first of all, let's see. Is Stripe the only option for payment processing, or can we link up other payment processing services?
No, right now Stripe is our one payment processor that we use globally. The only exception to that, we have a different provider we use in Australia, but all of the other regions we operate in run through Stripe.
Which, by the way, for those of you who don't or haven't used Stripe, it's super easy. It's like I'm glad that you offer Stripe as the payment solution. If you get a Stripe account, then all you'll ever need is your email address that's associated with that Stripe account to set up Stripe to take payments on pretty much any platform that provides for Stripe. So it probably couldn't be easier to set up that process here in Practice Ignition.
Yeah, and just to interrupt for 1 second and clarify, yeah. You don't actually have to set anything up with Stripe when you use payments in Practice Ignition. We our backend system integrates directly with Stripe to actually process the payments.
Oh, so I'm not using my own Stripe account. You're just using Stripe to process payments, and you'll route it into my account. Got it.
Yeah, so we use like their engine to process the payments, but the interface that you interact with and all the data that you collect and keep, that all actually just comes directly into your practice ignition account. You don't have to do anything to Stripe.
Now, during the proposal process, assuming I send a proposal out to a client and they want some things changed, I assume that's easy to do. They can comment, let me know, hey, we want this taken out, we want this added. I make the updates and send them the updated version to ultimately get their approval.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this case, we've gone ahead and accepted the proposal. If you wanted to make changes before they accept, it's really easy. You would just go back. So the proposal would say awaiting acceptance. So it hasn't been signed off on yet. So it would have that awaiting acceptance status tag. You would just go in and click edit proposal. And then just like we did before, you could go into any of the screens. You can change a service, add a service, change the price, change the billing date, whatever you want. In this case, they've already accepted it though, because this happens too, right? They're like, hey, this is great. And they sign off on it. And then the next day they call you and you're like, you know what? I just talked to my partner. I just talked to whoever. We need to add this or we need to change that. Not a problem. Same kind of process. You just click adjust proposal. And what it's going to do is it actually duplicates and creates a new proposal ID. And then we can make some changes. So let's just say, you know what? They don't need consulting. They're all sorted there. I'm just going to take that out, adjust the proposal. And then what it does is it keeps an audit log. So this new version now links back to the original proposal so that you'll have a record of it, and it saves that in the history as well. And then what I would do is I would just resend this proposal to the client. They can sign off on the updated version, or if you prefer, you can just go ahead and accept it on their behalf, and this will then push this into the live or active state, and it will start that billing and payment collection as well.
Got it. Brilliant. And then also going back to the question about 17 hats, because I am very familiar with 17 hats as a product. The difference, everyone, is that 17 hats, it gives you a platform where, yes, you could create a proposal, but it's very manual in terms of creating that proposal. It's not going to link to your items in your accounting software. It's not going to, it's not going to be as seamless. You would have to design your whole proposal from scratch to basically put it into an email template and include it in your workflow in 17 hats to be sent down. So it's not going to be nearly as streamlined as this is from that perspective. Another question, Reid, is there a library? Now, I think the question Alexa asked, it says there a library of services. I guess the library of services would be your products and services list from QuickBooks Online, let's say, where it's mapped to that. Or can I create a library of services that might be more detailed in Practice Ignition and then maybe map 2 or 3 here if I wanted to a single service that's in QuickBooks Online? In other words, is it linear or go?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and thanks for allowing me to clarify. So the services in Practice Ignition are unique and customizable, and what I mean by that is you can see, as you'll see in our demo account, we've got pages and pages of stuff here, but you can create as many and any services you want in Practice Ignition. And then depending on whether or not you've got it connected to your ledger account, you can then map it to either the default account on your ledger, or you can choose a different one. So you may have certain services that you're providing that you want to map to different records or different accounts in your ledger. And you may also want to use different tax rates. Some of the services you provide might have tax applicable, may have no tax, may have a special tax rate. So you can customize all that in the service library. And we've also now got, for a few of the regions that we work in, including the US, you can click on the example services button. And what it's going to do is it's going to import a list of sample services for your service library, which you can then take and customize and update. So the whole idea is anything that you sell or provide, we can create an item for in your service library, which you can then automatically add into your proposal when you're drafting a proposal.
Brilliant. Okay, and another question we have is as to the design capabilities. Do we have much control, I guess, over how that proposal looks when it goes out to the client? It looks like we can slap a logo on there. But how much flexibility is there with respect to the design?
Yeah, over the design and layout. So right now, yeah, the design is limited to 2 things, and I'm just going to open this again so you can see. You can customize, of course, the logo at the top, and then you can choose what highlight color text you have. So not a lot. Right now, it's pretty locked in. Later this year, we're actually releasing an entirely revamped client accept screen design, which will be much more flexible. So it's going to be actually kind of a 2-panel design, where on the left-hand side, you can link a Google sheet with whatever content you want. So you can almost think of it like creating a digital brochure, which can have whatever information you want. And then we're also on the right-hand side, it's going to have more of a click-through step-by-step process. So we saw before, and I'll pull up an example of a draft. There was multiple sections on that client accept screen. So now instead of showing each section one above another, you're going to kind of click through the sections. So they're going to pull up kind of one at a time on the right side panel. And we're also going to have some functionality where you can say embed a video or add some more text and instructions. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so right now it's pretty locked down. It's kind of what you see is what you get. You can add the logo, change the color. Coming out later this year, and I don't have a date yet, so I don't want to make any promises and have people disappointed if it's not ready in time for that date. But sooner rather than later, you'll see an update. And if you're in our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter, that'd be the best way to get those updates. You'll see that the beta launch will be coming out soon, and then we'll do a full release after that.
Gotcha. That's brilliant. And then I had another question. Actually, let's go back. Can you go back to the practice ignition backend?
Yeah.
So, all right, what's in the library? What do I have there?
Yeah, so library is 2 things. So the services we talked about. So again, setting up a service for all of the things that you would sell or provide, and you've got a couple of items you can customize. You can change the description. You can set a default billing type, default price, and again select your tax rates and how it maps to your ledger. And then we've also got templates. So these are your engagement letter templates, and again, these would be the legal terms and conditions that would be kind of the formal contract that people are signing off on. This will dynamically merge in data from different parts of the app. So if you've ever used a merge field in Microsoft Office or other software, you'll see these little double brackets here. We call them placeholders. It's the same thing as a merge field. What this does is, in this case, it's going to pull in a list of all the services that you include. This is going to pull in a list of services with associated prices, et cetera, et cetera. So you can customize and create.
On that subject, I'm sorry. Can I pick from a list of fields, or do I have to remember exactly how that field is termed and put it in double bracket?
Yeah, no. So you can, in that sample one, it doesn't show all the options, but you just click on the placeholders button here, and these are all the different, fields. So you just click on one and then literally copy and paste it in to put that in. Yeah.
Okay, and just to confirm, sorry?
I'll go ahead.
Just to confirm,
go ahead, yeah.
You may have said it and I may have missed it. Back on the services, so I can create all the services I want in Practice Ignition, but I assume there's a way within that to say these 3 or 4 or 10 services map to this one service that I have in QuickBooks Online. Am I able to map them? Or?
Yeah, so there isn't a direct way to map kind of one service to your ledger system. The way it works, I'm just going to jump into Xero and show you an example. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to show you how this links through this. I think this will clarify. I'm just going to show you what this looks like. So if I go to my Friday hot dog stand client, I go to invoices and payments. We didn't have any invoices done through that yet. So let's go to this one. Just want to pull up an example. So in this case, the connected Xero works the same way for QuickBooks. When it generates the invoice, it'll create a link to that invoice in your ledger system. And so what happens is, in your proposal, you've got a number of services. Each service becomes a particular line item on the proposal. And if you wanted to group services together, there's 2 ways to do that. So the first method is you'll see someone will go into Practice Ignition and they'll create a service in the service library called, for example, Bookkeeping Monthly Gold Package. So they'll then list a whole bunch of different items in here that are going to be included in that package. When they add that to the proposal, it's just going to be a single line item. So on your invoice, you would just have a single line item that says, bookkeeping gold package, and then whatever the associated details are. Now, the other way to do it is,
because I was going to say, in Xero, I can put in the description, and I can, as you have it here, I can ignore the item code and not use it because I have a separate account in this invoice that tells it what income account to book it to. With QuickBooks Online, I have to have a product or service, which would be like the item code here, linked to the income account. So how does it work that way?
That is a super good question, which unfortunately I might have to get back to you on, just because I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure 100% how that connects together, and I don't want to give anyone the wrong information.
No,
so maybe I can, maybe I can send out a follow-up, or we can do this. Let's see how good is our support documentation. This will be a live test. Let's see if together, really quickly, in 30 seconds or less, can we figure out the answer to the question? So,
settings for QuickBooks looks like a good place to start.
Yeah, let's have a look there. So yeah, this is the default QuickBooks service. So would you be specifying a different service in QuickBooks for each?
Potentially, each line item might be a different service, right? Because I might have, like you had in the example, I might have monthly bookkeeping services, which would be one item that's mapped to a bookkeeping services income account on my P&L, and then I might have strategic consulting services as another line item, or as another product or service linked to a different income item. It looks here like it's singular. I pick one default income account or service to link everything to.
Yeah, let's get to the bottom of this. I'm just going to switch screens for a second here. Let me log into a separate demo account that is hooked up to QBO. And yeah, so I'm pretty sure the way it works will be the same as Xero. You can choose one default, but then you can override that on a per service basis. So let's just verify that if we've got time, if no one's.
Yep, we have time. I do want to leave time for the Zapier integrations. That I definitely want to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just give me a minute here to get this logged into the right one. I'll just find. Perfect. Okay. Look at that. We're learning new things and answering questions. This is good. Even I'm learning new things today. Okay. So here's an account that we've got connected to QuickBooks, and what you'll see. So actually, let's go through kind of both things. So if I click on my QuickBooks settings, so I can choose a default, and I'm kind of glad this came up. For almost all of the settings in Practice Ignition, there's two levels of kind of setting. One is a global default, so this is what I want to choose to be my standard. And then two, on a per proposal, a per client, a per service basis, I want to customize that setting. So when you go into your general QuickBooks setting, you can choose the default service that you want to map to. In this case, it's sales. But in my library, when I go into my services now, I can choose to override that default. And we obviously in our QuickBooks demo account have very few services set up. But this is where you could override and say, instead of this mapping to sales, for this one, I want to map it to hours.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so as you set up these services, so it is one for one. If you want it to be, you can create a service in Practice Ignition and link it to the specific service you want in QBO. Perfect. I love that. Good. That's all we need to know on that. Oh. So another question. So what are the fees? So Stripe, I know, charges, I think, like 3.5%, right? So how does that work? If you're using Stripe to process payments for me, what is it going to cost me for processing?
Yeah, and the fees are different according to, of course, what part of the world you're in. So assuming everyone's in the U.S., let me just pull up here. Pricing.
So Canada. We have some Canadian people here too.
You have some Canadian? Okay, cool. Well, we'll look at both. So this
So
is the pricing.
Okay, so it's included in my monthly practice ignition pricing?
No, so to say, this is the subscription pricing, and then these are the rates for processing for US. So it's $1 for ACH and it's 2.9%.
2.9% credit card, which is competitive because usually, and then I see in fine print Amex is 3.6%, so it's more if they.
Yeah. And that's not us trying to gouge Amex
Right,
users.
Amex.
That's a Stripe Amex thing, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So and actually, it's good that someone brought up pricing on the kind of while we're on the topic. We actually have a new pricing model that we're just about to roll out globally, and what it's going to do is based on the we've kind of rejigged our plans a little bit, but based on the subscription plan that you have and the volume of payments you're doing, we actually now have a calculator that we're going to use to say, it might be actually better for you to upgrade to a more expensive monthly subscription plan because we're going to be able to drop your payment rates. So we have it, instead of it just as it is right now, it's just kind of a fixed fee. This is the fee. It's the same for everyone. It is what it is. But we're adding some more, I guess, kind of tiers or a more dynamic pricing model. And so you'll see a lot of announcements around that as well on Twitter, and then any of our current users, you'll get a notification. So we're going to have a way that you can, if you're processing a lot of payments, we can get those rates down to a little bit better rate for you and save some money there as well. So
right, which is typical. Obviously, the more volume you're doing, the better the rates you're going to get. So
yeah.
Would you mind scrolling back up? I just want to look at the actual practice ignition pricing plans. I usually do this last, but I figure while we're here, might as well take a
sure.
look at that.
And so the plans, the differentiator between the plans, the key one right now, and again, this is going to change when we roll out the updated pricing so that we can have a better alignment of kind of value for the customer and features and functionality in the software. But right now it's differentiated based on active clients. And so what an active client is, that's someone who has a currently signed and engaged proposal. So you may have 5,000 clients in your practice ignition account, but if you only ever actively working with 100 of them at a time, you would only need to subscribe to, say, the Marge plan. So that's the way it works right now. Again, as we continue to evolve the software and we add some more premium features, there's going to be some more kind of differentiation happening where we're going to have a starter, a professional, and a scale plan. And those plans are going to be designed around their titles and kind of what you would expect they would be. So a starter plan would be for a small professional service firm, someone that's maybe either getting started on cloud or has just a small practice. Professional plan is going to take that, it's going to add some more advanced functionality, and it's going to add more volume of transactions, more clients, all that good stuff. It's going to have lower rates for your payment processing. And then the scale plan would be kind of like enterprise or larger companies. So it's going to be tiered in a traditional way that you'd see for a software service.
Gotcha. Okay. And I think it's fair to say that most smaller businesses aren't going to have more than 100 clients. So most people are going to be on that lowest plan right now.
Yeah. And actually we're going to we're changing it. So the lowest plan, I think potentially there's going to be a tier where it's even less than 100. And so one of the other issues with our pricing right now is what happens if you have 101 clients? Right now you get bumped to Neptune. Well, that kind of sucks, right? Like that's, that's not good. So again, in kind of addressing that issue, the new plans, they're going to have kind of like a bucket or a package price. But if you have 101 or, you've got one or two more than kind of the plan limit, it doesn't just automatically bump you up. There'll just be a small additional kind of per active client fee. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So
yeah,
this
let's
is,
look at Zapier.
this is US pricing. Just for any of our Canadian folks, because I'm up here in Canada too. This is the Canadian pricing. So you'll see it's basically the same for the currency exchange stuff. Right now in Canada, the one drawback is Stripe doesn't offer direct debit for us right now in Canada. Same issue we have in the UK. So right now for Canada and the UK, we only do credit card processing. But again, as is master with a lot of these things we've talked about, coming soon is what we're told from Stripe. So that'll be good. We'll have that up and running as soon as Stripe enables it. We'll flip the switch and it'll be up and live. There you go. So, yeah. Any other questions about pricing, or we'll jump into Zapier?
No, the comment, I guess, on, underneath all of this is that, and I think it's safe to say this, that, yeah, if you're going to use Practice Ignition, the intention should be to go all in with Practice Ignition and do all of your invoicing or billing through Practice Ignition. Yeah,
I think, I mean, the way I approach it, the way I think about it is the way I've always looked at software. Software, including Practice Ignition, is really valuable when it can save you time and automate things. But if it's not saving you time, or if it's not automating your process, then I would say it's maybe not the right fit. There's a lot of different software tools you can use right now to get a digital signature. Practice Ignition may or may not be the best fit for you, depending on what your needs are. But if your customer experience involves getting a digital signature, billing them on some kind of recurring cadence, and having that all be tracked and input into your ledger system, then I think absolutely this is something you'd want to look at.
I mean, here's how I see it, honestly, because I'm sitting here thinking about this, and as I look at these things, I always think in terms of my own practice and what I'm trying to do. And the way I envision moving forward and building, especially if you're looking like I am to grow something significant, to grow in and hire lots of people and really build something out, I look at it like this. What's my role as the chief nerd at Nerd Enterprises, as the person running the company, right? A lot of us, I think, get stuck in the rut of doing all the work ourselves, right? So the first step when we're trying to grow practice is to get out of that and hire people to do that work so you can actually run and grow your business. And to that end, I'm sitting here thinking about Practice Ignition and how I envision this in the whole app ecosystem that I'm in the process of building for my business. And I'm thinking my job as the chief nerd, what I should be doing when I reach the point that I'm working towards in my business is I'm doing two things. I'm not doing any bookkeeping anymore. I hire people to do that, right? That's the point of building and running and growing a business and being, in charge. My job should be, in my case specifically, I'm going to be spending like half the day producing content to bring in clients and the other half the day writing proposals to get those clients actually in the door. I mean, that's the role of a CEO in a smaller company. Eventually that even gets delegated, and the CEO's job is to do like PR and really run everything. And then even then you have somebody else who's managing. But my point is that, yes, if you're thinking along, if your goal is to be a small solopreneur and that's what you're happy with and content with, and that's all you want to do, then like you said, Reid, it may not be the right fit. But if you're looking to build something to scale, then I think the intention should be to build something where, as the CEO, as the person in charge of the company, I'm going to go all in. My job as the president is to make sure I've got the marketing out there that's bringing the clients in, so I have that engine working for me. And then my job is to focus on getting those proposals out so I can bring the clients in, which is where this product is perfect. All right, rant over.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Absolutely. I agree. And I think I would add that even if you're a solo entrepreneur, we have bookkeepers, especially where it's a one-person bookkeeping business. And even for them, because they're offering their services on a regular recurring basis, it saves them enough time that the fee is worth it, right? To pay $80 a month to get however many hours back of not having to manually trigger invoices and reconcile, I mean, it saves them a lot of time. So,
right. Okay, let's look at Zapier. I'm dying to see some of the Zapier integrations. So,
excuse me. I have a real-time whiteboard here, and I want to show you just an example of the kind of things you can do with Practice Ignition and Zapier. So right now we've launched our kind of version 1 integration with Zapier. And what that means is there's only one action for sending data into PI right now. And there's two triggers that we can use to kind of send data or have actions come out of PI. So you can create a new client in Practice Ignition automatically, and that can be sent in. And then the two triggers we have are the proposals accepted or services accepted. So let's have a look at what that looks like. And this, again, I can share a link to this. This is an example that our head of customer success, Tom Maxwell, put together of just, kind of your digital cloud sales process. Again, for a small or medium-sized practice, using Zapier and other cloud tools. So you first meet the contact. You might have an inbound phone call, web lead, something like that. You're going to qualify them. This can be done through different automated checklists, surveys, online tools, or can be done more manually, just as a conversation. Then next, you're going to have some kind of sales or scoping meeting. So they've come in as a web lead. They've filled out a quick survey so you can understand a bit about them and their business and see if they're a good fit. You've met with them to talk about that. And you've actually introduced and started putting together proposals. So in that meeting, maybe you've got PI open on your laptop or tablet, and you're actually dragging together a draft proposal as you speak. You're showing it or previewing it to them there, and then sending it off for them to sign. So they can actually sign in person. We now have short links, so you could send a text or you can send an email. Once they've accepted that proposal, then a lot of different things are going to happen. So you're going to start that working relationship, you're off to the races. But this is the kind of the human process. This is what happens on the human side of things, but this is what happens in your technology stack. So let's go through it again, kind of one by one. So you've got this new lead. In this case, let's say we're using HubSpot CRM. They're going to go into HubSpot CRM. A Zap's going to be used to automatically then send them a type form survey. So they're going to fill out a quick survey and again, kind of pre-qualify themselves. It also is hooked up to Calendly. So they're going to book a time in your calendar to chat. Once they've got that survey complete, it's going to trigger them to possibly be added to one of your email lists in MailChimp so you can keep a track of any of these new prospects. It's going to send the client into Practice Ignition. So you don't have to go and add a new client. They've already been added in Practice Ignition. You may connect with them now in person. Maybe you're doing Zoom like we have today. Maybe you even got Google Slides. You're going to go walk through your pitch or your presentation. They'll get that proposal from Practice Ignition one of 3 different ways again. Let's say you email it to them. They'll review it with their business partner and they sign it that night. Once they sign that proposal, a number of things can happen. So we have some direct integrations, which of course we looked at earlier. So whether you're using Xero or QuickBooks, it'll automatically, let's just zoom in a bit for you here. It'll create the client in your ledger system. If you're using payments and you've got that enabled, it'll start to process that payment. It sends out the invoices and payment notifications. It'll also send notifications into Xero HQ if you're a Xero user. And if you're using Workflow Max, which is also XPM in Xero, it'll deploy those jobs. Of course, through Zapier, a lot of things can happen. You can have it connect into, say, Slack. So now in your company Slack channel, you get a little dancing GIF. Let's see if it'll work. There you go. You get your happy dance. You got a new client on board. You can update in your CRM the deal stage. So now it can be marked as close won and or thousands of other things. So this is kind of just one example of how you can look at, say, the sales process. So we go from having someone new that we've just talked to we've signed them on and they're a client, and we've automated that kind of next step of that relationship management. So we've alerted the team, yay, we have a new client, we've updated their records in our CRM, and we start to automate that invoicing, billing, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some more details here of how those actual Zaps would work, which we can take a look at as well. So at the beginning here, we can trigger off of new deal stage in the CRM, and then Tom's put in a delay. So we can, have a wait to make sure it's captured, send an email. Again, we can trigger, if they book an event in our Calendly, that can be the trigger, which can then go find and update the CRM. We can create a client in Practice Ignition, and we can add them to a subscriber list. So I won't go through every step on all the things. And again, I'll share, this is again, like a digital whiteboard. So I'll share the link, Seth, I'll get this out to you that you can send around. People can click around and have a look. But that's an example of Zapier. I know I went through kind of a lot of stuff really quick, but we have a bunch of recommended apps that we've used or we've seen some of our practices use. But there's thousands of options. So I think the key takeaway for Zapier when we're working with folks setting that up, the first thing to do is forget about technology. Literally get out a good old-fashioned piece of paper And I even use a pencil because pen is too finite. But I literally, with a pencil, I'll chat with them and I'll just draw out, I'll sketch out notes and little arrows of what's the current process. So what are all the little steps that happen as you're bringing on a new client and engaging them in a relationship? And then once we've looked at that process, then we say, okay, what technology should we use or not use to automate some of this? Because there's sometimes a desire to just automate everything. But that can have a really negative effect on your relationship management, on building relationships with new customers, right? So the goal isn't to automate everything. The goal is to say, what jobs should computers do? Should technology do? What jobs should human do? And let's make a clear kind of workflow that automates as much as we can, but still allows us the time and the flexibility to build meaningful relationships.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're like me and you still love doing everything digital, you can use a mind mapping tool to do what Reid's describing. I use something called the Brain. Yeah. And I've also done similar things in Lucidchart. Lucidchart is a great product for creating it's a flow charting tool, basically, a very detailed and visual one. So if you hate paper like I do, there's ways to do what Reid's describing. But for a lot of us, probably pen and paper is the good old-fashioned classic way. And our minds work differently when we're working that way, from what I've experienced and been told. Plus, the other option is sometimes just a good old-fashioned Google document where you just create bullet points, right? And I love Google Docs for that, where you can just start laying out the bullet points and putting things in order. And then if you really like that kind of a process, use a product like Dynalist, because that's bullet pointing on steroids, where you can easily reorder things, because that's what happens in my experience. When I've sat down to outline a workflow like this, I'll start just stream of consciousness, getting it all down, and then I want to move things around, say, no, this has to happen first. And I start thinking through the workflow and say, wait a minute, I've just gotten to this point, but I forgot something else that needed to happen before I get to that point. So you want to just use something where it makes it really easy to reorder and reorganize the workflow. And you want to have it very detailed in terms of mapping it out before you go in and build, your actual digital workflow.
Yeah, good point. And I think, I start with paper because I'm old school and it's easy for me to just brain dump ideas. I then will, in this case, we're most of the time now we're using something like real-time board, but yeah, lots of options for taking your mind maps or your flows and putting them online. I think the key is just to do that process, right? Even if you don't go and automate a bunch of things, have you sat down and consciously thought of every single step that's involved in the way that you bring on a new customer or that you, engage a client? Sometimes you're so busy running your business, you talked about it earlier, right? As a CEO, you're so busy running things, making the calls, you got to make sure that deals are coming in, that it can be hard to step back and say, okay, hold on, let's actually look at how we're doing things and all the steps, and let's work on that process management. So,
right. Anybody got any questions? I think we've addressed all the questions in the chat. I've been following that pretty closely here. The live Facebook feed, my good friend.
I was going to ask.
Go.
Okay. Do you have a multi-user where you can have a couple people log in and use the platform, or is it just a one user?
Yeah, no. So you can have as many users as you want. I'm sure there's some kind of limit, but I've never seen it. But yeah, you could have 10,000. Oh. Yeah, you could have thousands of users. Again, when you add a new user account, and I'll just let's just flip over really quick. So just go into my settings and go to my team. In this case, I've just got Luke Skywalker. He's so good at it. He's all that we need. But you can add as many users as you want here. And there's basically two different user roles. So a standard user only has access to the dashboard, clients, and proposals. So a lot of times, again, so as you talked about scaling your business or scaling your practice, you may have one person or you may have multiple people that go ahead and add new clients and create proposals, but they don't actually send them out. You might want to have a manager or a partner or someone like that goes and does it. So you can add, a whole bunch of standard users for everyone on your team, and there's no additional fees or anything like that. And then they can go ahead and create a proposal. Let's go to my proposals here. And what they can do, so we've got this draft proposal. What they can do is they go to actions and just go to mark to review. So this is a tag that kind of a built-in tag that I can now go in our proposals. And if I'm, say, the manager or the partner, I can go click in review and say, okay, great, I've got 2 proposals that have been put together. I'm going to take a quick look at them, make sure everything's right, and then get those sent off and accepted.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how we see it happen. So again, a small practice that maybe everyone's an admin, you know, there'll be 2 or 3 users and they all have full admin access, so they can change service library, do whatever they want. So that happens in the smaller practice. Larger and more kind of scale companies, they'll have 2 or 3 admin users, they'll have a whole bunch of standard role users that actually do a lot of the daily kind of operation, and then, you know, go from there. Yeah.
And since we have a bunch of accountants sitting here, do you happen to have any kind of, well, is this product really ever aimed directly at the user, or is it pretty much, it's always going to be for an accountant? It's really only for accountants. So I assume there's no affiliate program of any kind?
We actually do have a referral program. So anyone that's interested, again, Seth, I will send you the information after the call here, just so you've got that. So we do. So, and that's a really good question. Our software started and absolutely was built for accountants and bookkeepers kind of from the get-go. As we get into releasing more features and functionality in 2018 and into the future, what you're going to see is that the functionality that accountants and bookkeepers love is always going to be there, but the software is evolving to become much more applicable to other use cases.
I can see where just about any service-based business would love something like this.
Yeah, like right now, if you look at our client base, the vast majority are accountants and bookkeepers, but we've got people that work in financial services, we've got lawyers, we've got engineers, essentially anyone that needs to create a contract and deliver services on an ongoing basis could be a really good fit. Mm-hmm. If you create a contract that's once off and you do a job once and you never talk to the customer again, I mean, you could use it for that, but it's not going to help you that much, right? But if you're delivering value, you're delivering services on an ongoing basis, and therefore you're invoicing regularly and you're collecting payments, then yeah, any professional service firm like that, it could be a really good fit for.
Great. All right. As we wrap up, anybody else have any questions about what you've seen so far? Obviously, we'll get this posted on the website. I'm going to grab the chat transcript because there's some good questions in the chat that were all answered here during the session. Everybody say hi to Shane McFarland. He's watching on the Facebook feed. So is Mariette Martinez. Hey. Everybody say hi. I think Gina went over to the live Facebook feed. Who else is here real quick? Larry DeForest and Mike Henninger had joined earlier in the hour. So hello, everybody. And goodbye, everybody. Reid, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. This has been great. It's been a while since I've seen Practice Ignition, like I said in the beginning. And so I'm really glad I got the chance to get updated with it. I took some great notes myself, and it's something I can really see using, especially as I look to really scale my business. So thanks again. Appreciate it.
Hey, my pleasure. We're always excited to connect with folks that are trying to solve this problem and hear about how they might use it. So I've got some more information to send over, but you can find everything, of course, on our website, practiceignition.com, for those that haven't checked it out or haven't been able to see. The best place to keep kind of in touch with what's happening, keep a pulse on things, you can follow us on Twitter, and that's @IgnitionApp. Should be. It's in my slide deck. Let's go back there. There we go. Yep, @IgnitionApp. And then if you're already using Practice Ignition, if you need any help or support, don't be afraid to send us an email at success@practiceignition.com, or when you're in the app itself, you can always just go right up in the top right corner and you can start a live chat with the support team as well. So we look forward to seeing you, and if there's anything else, just let me know.
Beautiful. All right, so you'll send me a link to that real-time board you had and the affiliate program information. We'll get that up on the website along with the posting of this show, hopefully within the next 24 hours. I'm a couple weeks behind on postings, but I'm going to get it all cut up tomorrow so that this will be live hopefully within 48 hours from now. All right.
Good stuff.
Thanks again, Reid. Great stuff. Great to see you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a
We'll
nice
see you
weekend.
around the web. And everybody, don't forget to join Gina's Hangout later today. It is at 2 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Eastern. Just go to SBAA, Small Business Accounting Advisors, and look for that on Facebook. And you'll be able to get the information for how to join. And maybe Gina will invite Reid to be on her Hangout one week.
There you go. Yeah. I'll try and learn more about our QuickBooks integration so I actually know the answers for that Hangout.
Okay. No worries. And once I dig in, I'll quickly become an expert at it myself, I'm sure. That's just kind of how I roll. So we'll be
excellent.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thanks again, everyone. Talk to you later.
Bye.